Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is a fan favorite, a game that many people hold in such high regard, and a game that many people want Paper Mario to be more like. And as the Switch is winding down and we get more and more re-releases, this was one of the more highly anticipated ones for the reasons I just said. And I'm happy to say that while it's more or less the exact same game from the GameCube, that's not entirely a bad thing. But let's talk about it. Hi guys, DPX here, reviewing today Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door for Switch. Now before we get started, you know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell, leave a comment, or I will give you a paper cut. Starting off with the good, first thing is just how faithful of a remake this is. It's a pretty one-to-one remake of the original in the grand scheme of things. Well, like I said earlier, that's not entirely a bad thing. So I'll just talk about things I liked that were in the original game that are also present in the remake. One thing that stands out to me about Thousand Year Door is how the game is oozing with personality and detail. There are so many details everywhere with humor involved. For example, you'll talk to an NPC and they go on and on and on to the point where you're kind of just mashing A throughout the whole thing. But the game knows that, as it'll have Mario and whoever else you have from your party dozing off. Or other moments where the game breaks the fourth wall. When you beat a boss that's kind of easy and like earlier in the chapter than you would normally fight the boss. I just thought that was cool. The game also pushes the boundaries a little bit. Like there is a literal boss fight where the boss gives you an option to sniff their feet, and you can even say yes to it. I was afraid that since maybe this could be a little problematic, it was gonna get removed from the remake, but that, along with other things that normally would have been removed, I feel, are still here. I also gotta say that Rogueport, the main hub world for the game, has to be one of my favorite hub worlds for like any non-open world game ever. There is just so much to do, so many NPCs you can talk to, so many side quests you can do. It at times kept me distracted from the main game. I also know this isn't anything new, but the party members are characters that we rarely, if ever, see in other Mario games, but I love them all. Characters like Goombella, Koops, Flurry, Vivian, Bobbery, and even some optional party members like Ms. Mouse. And then there's Yoshi, who's a mainstay in the Mario franchise, of course, but still, he's so cool in this game. And while on the subject of the party members, they made a good quality of life change to how you select your party member. In the original game, you had to open up a menu and select your partner from there. In the remake, however, there is a partner wheel where you can pretty much change your partner on the fly. And you're going to need to do that, as not only in battle do the party members come in handy, but also during exploration. Koops could help retrieve an item that may be a little too far to reach. Flurry can blow wind to reveal a hidden door or passageway or chest. Yoshi can flutter jump, making it easier to jump further distances. Vivian can pretty much turn you invisible, and Bobbery can blow up walls and stuff like that to create a path. And Goombella could easily be used as a waypoint. I also feel like I gotta mention a change to a particular character, and that is Vivian. In the Japanese version of the original game, along with many other languages, Vivian was a transgender woman, but not in the English version. It was just omitted from the English version. But now, with the re-release, Vivian is canonically a trans woman in all regions, and I think it was handled very well. Additionally, each chapter has a distinct setting or theme. One of them is in a spooky town, one of them is basically a gauntlet of wrestling matches, one of them is a snowy area where you get sent into space, so on and so forth. One big issue with the original Thousand Year Door is the amount of backtracking, and while there is still some backtracking in the remake, there are some changes to some chapters that try to alleviate this issue, whether it's by adding a pipe that makes going from point A to point B easier, or a spring that does the same thing. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but I didn't really dwell on it that much, but the game is oozing with personality. Every character, despite being paper, are all very expressive, and even though all the dialogue in the game is text, it still conveys the personality and expressiveness of the characters very well. Speaking of paper, the paper aesthetic lends itself to the game very well. I just love little details like when you go through a door to enter a house or a building, the whole thing folds into a different shape to show you the room of the building that you are in. It's a small detail, but I love it. All the music has also been rearranged, and they all sound great. Additionally, the new visuals are absolutely stunning. Even though this is a remake of a GameCube game from 20 years ago, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door might just be one of the best looking games for the Switch. It looks so good at times, it honestly doesn't look like the same game as the one on the GameCube. Onto the mixed aspects, there is really only one, and I'm not even quite sure how else to really mention this, or if this should even be in the mix, but I'm not quite sure if there is much to really say about this game. Sure, I did just talk about stuff, but I mean, particular this version of TTYD. A lot of the stuff I was talking about were aspects of the original game that were brought over to this version, but as for new things, I don't think there is a whole lot to say. Not inherently a bad thing, and won't affect the overall verdict, but I felt like mentioning it. Onto the bad, I briefly mentioned this earlier, but there is still some backtracking in this game that could get a bit annoying. They did some changes, so it's not as bad as the original, but there is still some annoying backtracking. And the other issue is, I noticed some frame rate drops, particularly when the game had multiple characters or whatnot. It didn't happen a whole lot, but it was certainly noticeable when there was a lot going on. But that's about it. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for Switch, or Remake, whatever I'm gonna call it, is a perfect reminder of how good Mario's most beloved RPG really is. It's better than the original in just about every single way, as the original is already great, and this version doesn't do too much different, but the stuff it does change, such as the quality of life improvements, along with the rearranged soundtrack, and stunning new visuals, makes this the perfect way to experience an already near perfect game. In the end, I'm gonna give Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door a 10 out of 10. If we're looking at it as like a remake, probably like a 9, 9.5, but like as a complete package, if the original didn't exist and this was the first version of Thousand Year Door we ever got, it's probably a 10 out of 10. And I feel confident saying that. Well, this is my review of Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door for Switch. What do you guys think? You guys play it, not play it? You guys like it, not like it? If you guys haven't played it, you guys want to play it, not want to play it, you want to get it, anything about the game, let me know down below. Anyways, be sure to like the video, comment, subscribe, or I will give you a paper cut.